Take one. Are you comfortable? Yeah.
Very.
Okay. In one word, how do you describe your comedy?
My comedy?
Yeah.
I'd describe it as witty.
Hilarious.
Dodgy. I'd say dodgy.
Disgusting.
Anecdotal.
Controversial.
Humorous.
Misanthropic.
Deadpan, I suppose.
Physical.
Small.
Unfinished.
Nuts.
I'm just going to say frustrated.
Enthusiastic.
Witty.
Truthful.
Quirky, I think. Quirky.
Written.
Funny.
Cathartic.
Awkward.
Awkward.
Dark.
Weird.
Quirky, maybe?
Enigma.
I'd like to say different, but I don't know. I think it's very hard to define your own writing. If you can define it in one word, perhaps you're being too restrictive on yourself. I don't know. I struggle with that.
For a joke to work, it has to be believable that that person could be in that situation. I'm sure we've all heard comedians who say, "Oh yeah, I'm a paedophile." It's like, how can you be a paedophile? You're 17 years old. You know, you're only just outside of being bait for a paedophile. You know, you need to make stuff believable. You know, so yeah, I think honesty is the best way of summing it up.
I think from my own point of view, I'd say it's kind of awkward, or if self-deprecating fits in one word, then that. But I don't know, like tutors have said it's quiet and subtle, but I don't know, I just think it's awkward and weird.
I'm just trying to have a good time and hope that people can go away at the end of the night, the end of the gig, going, "Oh, it's really good, really enjoyed that." So it's just about having a good time, fun.
Comedy is verbal. Well, my comedy's verbal. I'll say verbal, that could be my one word. But because it's verbal, I tend to need more than one word. Verbs. I need some verbs. So one word's difficult, but I'll say verbal. But know that because it's verbal, verbal is a bad answer.
Does anyone else, when they're in the post office, like to pretend there's just a woman at the back being whipped? Stay with me, it's funny, right? Just like, fucking say it! Say it! And she's like, no, I don't want to. Fucking say it! She's like, okay. Cashier number 3. This might just be me. When you walk up to an automatic door, just in your head pretend you're a Jedi. Just. I actually do that as well. When there's loads of people around, I make it smaller, like. Do it, it's awesome. You feel powerful as well. Don't ever walk up to a door without doing it, because you'll ruin the illusion and realise that it's actually an automatic door. Also, don't walk up to a normal door and do it, because you're really sad.
What has been your best and your worst gig?
My worst gig was one I actually got paid the most for. Got paid £85 originally. It was a gig in Kirby Muxloe, which is near Leicestershire, and basically I screwed it up because all the audience were either elderly people or kids about 12, and they did not like my humour. And if you don't know what my humour is, I said it's disgusting, so it wasn't their cup of tea, so I told the guy to give me £20 and that was it. And that was also the time I got heckled by a fat woman, which was when I just got heckled for no reason, and she started shouting random stuff at me, and I said, "Why are you heckling me?" And she said, "Oh, because it's my birthday." And I said, "Oh, did you get something that when you use goes from 0 to 30 in 5 seconds?" And she went, "Oh, I don't have a car." And I was like, "No, I mean bathroom scales."
My best and worst one was probably my first one, mixed into one.
Yeah.
Where I died on stage and then talked about how shit I was. I've probably got the best response from that, but it was the worst feeling and the best feeling in one gig. It was crazy. For a first gig, I couldn't imagine it going worse or better, which is amazing. It's actually a turning point in my life, because if I had walked off stage at that point and like couldn't get it back, I would have quit stand up, and it would have scarred me, and I would have quit uni. Because I would have thought I'm on the wrong place, because I didn't know if I could do stand-up. But the fact that I managed to pull the crowd round by just making shit up, give me the buzz that made me want to carry on.
Best gig was the final assessment in second year. That was a good gig. Worst, probably the Gong Show where I was drunk.
Worst would have to be 21st, when I didn't prepare. The audience I expected to be was going to be kids our age, so my humour was going to be that, but it was actually quite a formal event, black tie event, relatives over the age of 40, didn't appreciate stories about kicking drums in the face.
Best gig I ever had was in my friend's kitchen. It was after one of the first year comedy shows got cancelled, and we were all the whole class was really hyped up and G'd up to do it. It was our first big gig, and so rather than just put it off, we just went to our friend's flat, got loads of booze in, and said, like, just do it here in the kitchen. And so we crammed about 40 people into one of the tiny Lucia Foster Hall's kitchens, and that was definitely one of the best gigs I've ever been to or performed in of my life.
My best and worst gig was probably the same gig. The first time I ever did stand-up, I did it at an open spot at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. And it was the best feeling in the world, but it was terrible. Like, I think while I was up there, it was like, oh, this is amazing, everyone's laughing. And then when I listened to the video back, I had like 10 friends in there and they're the only people laughing. And I realised it was more delusions of grandeur. And I probably should never do comedy again.
Best gig was Southampton's Wholesale Gong Show. It's one of the first stand-up gigs I did with my current set. I did it on a whim and it went over pretty well. Got through to the the final of that night. Didn't get through to the grand final or whatever it was. But that was a really good gig. My worst gig was definitely my first gig in London. My material was completely off. I didn't know really what I was doing. I kept on having to refer to notes. I was just really nervous. You know, I'd been drinking, which is never a good thing for me. But yeah, it was just awful. I had to stop halfway through my set because it was just going to be the only laughs I was getting were the awkward laughs when the joke fell flat.
But essentially I don't like army men, and they don't like me apparently, because before I'd taken the microphone off the MC I was told to fuck off because I was a cunt. And it continued like that for the 15 minutes, my 15, I had to stay on stage for 15 or I wouldn't get paid. And it wasn't like light-hearted ribbing, and it wasn't, oh god, no, let's be quiet, he's telling a joke now, let's give him a chance to actually be funny. It was just a constant onslaught of really bitter hatred. Like, absolutely, they really didn't like me. I had to sneak out through the back way because one of the guys wanted to hurt me, and it's one of those gigs where it's just so demoralising, and you're in the car back, the hour-and-a-half drive back from Blandford, just wondering why you do it. And then you just have to remember that little school where everyone thought you were really funny, and loads of 16-year-old girls added you on Facebook, and you went, no, I won't accept, but that's very flattering, you know?
My worst was probably, well, yeah, definitely the first gig we ever done on this course. In the first week, you have to do, like a stand-up set, like 3 minutes or whatever. And I got up on stage and I had all this stuff planned, and I got like about one word out, and that was it. It was just like being punched in the face and the throat and the chest all at the same time. And you just stood there, and I remember I just kept looking at these two people in the front row and just thinking, they're not laughing. I
did my first gig when I was 16, and it went really well. Gong Show, fantastic, great feeling. And then the gig after that, the second one, I was booked to do like 5 minutes, and I did exactly the same set in like a different city. And as I was getting to the end of my 5, and it wasn't going down that well, wasn't getting great laughs. Pardon me. The organiser and compere, same guy, he disappeared to go and find the headline act. So he'd got lost in the city, and he was on straight after me. So I was left by myself, there was no one else there. So I had to improv for 2 to 3 minutes. And although that was, because I wasn't getting good laughs in my 5 minutes of material that went down brilliantly a couple of weeks before, although that was weird, me doing the improv then and getting proper good laughs, technical term, I then realised that's what I can do from quite a young age of starting it, and I went, so that for me was bad but also good.
Ooh, best gig, in terms of material, probably one I've done at the Oak, probably, like a student crowd. But in terms of reaction, probably one I did in my school, like a long time ago, when there were 900 people there, which is a big audience, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's like a theatre. and a lot of nice compliments.
The best gig I think I've done, the very first competition slot I did, which was at the Soul Cellar, I went on stage in a very, very hostile crowd. I was on last, and every other northern comedian who'd gone on so far had just been destroyed by a heckling audience. And as soon as I walked on, somebody instantly tried to heckle me, and my exact words, I turned round and just went, "Fuck you," and literally got a rapturous round of applause. And I just thought, alright, this is my first proper gig. This is what they want. They're all pissed, they're all drunk out of their minds, I may as well just continue with this. Somebody tried heckling later and I just went, yeah, shut the fuck up. But I did it with a certain amount of honesty. I wanted them to shut up, I wasn't playing.
Basically,
you want it?
There was 12 people there and 11 comedians who made up the audience. It was all on the same night. And there's a comedian called Rick Doyle, and he was on last, and a tramp roamed in to the gig, and he got her to read out poetry. And it was the most surreal experience of my life ever. It was funny, don't get me wrong.
Best gig might have been the one I did last time actually. We did an obsessed performance, and it was in the top bar of the SU, and it seemed to go really well, but I don't know if that's just because I'm getting more comfortable on stage, or I'm not sure, because then the worst gig I'd say would be the first one I ever did. And I just remember being so nervous on stage, and you know when like your mouth is too dry and you can hear it and like clicking in the microphone, and it was it felt horrible afterwards. But yeah, I think maybe that's just because I've maybe progressed a little bit over the term, but yeah, I'd say the best one was the last one I did.
My best gig was the second assessment, because I had a pretty strong set, and I ended up I got an audience member to buy me a drink. I had photos taken with them, and I went and played on a slot machine during the act.
I more or less went on stage after the tsunami and made some jokes involving that and a Nemo, which I shouldn't have done. Fully regret it. And the barmaid was of Asian ethnicity and shouted at me whilst I was on the stage. And there was a man at the bar falling for my head.
My best gig was my first ever gig actually, because they do a really good crowd, so when you get them laughing and you sort of like, that builds your energy, and then it just makes you feel really good inside because you know you've done your job for entertaining them. And my worst gig was this gig full of old people, that because I'm quite, you know, young and do like a lot of stuff that younger people might get and just jumping about the place like an idiot, I think they sort of looked at me going, what's he doing? And I think that would probably be my worst gig.
And I think there should be a rule when you're out to which girls have boyfriends and which ones don't. Because I was out and I seen this girl and I'm like, oh, fuck it. Excuse me, can I get you a drink? Yeah, all right. Got her a drink and we're dancing away. And I go, okay, can I get you another drink? Yeah, all right. Get her a drink. And it gets to the stage in the night where a friend comes over and goes, so, do you like her then? I'm thinking, oh great, you know, if a friend's coming over, I must be in here somewhere. And I go, yeah, she's all right. Well, you do know she's got a boyfriend, don't you? Eh? The cheeky bitch. I mean, girls, if you was in that situation, you could at least politely refuse the offer, but not her. I mean, girls, you know what that means when a lad buys you a drink in the club. He's not doing it for the good of his health, because he wants to do that. I mean, not in most cases, but generally. Oh, so anyway, I smacked her, and that were it.